kick off this finance meeting. If we could all stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, and I did bring a flag. So I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, the Republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, liberty and justice for all. Oh, that feedback's horrible. It's tough. All right.
And just last Saturday, they had a worldwide concert with musicians from all over the world playing in unison.
We had 30 people on a Zoom meeting yesterday. I'll do a roll call. Councilmember Gully?
I am here.
Councilmember Ash McPherson?
I'm here.
Councilmember Steele?
I'm here, and have Eileen mute her phone.
Councilmember Cummings? Oh, that's so much better. Thank you. Councilmember Cummings?
I am here as well.
Okay, and I'll go slow because Councilmember Zalewski?
Here.
Okay. Councilmember McDermott?
I'm here, and I will mute my phone.
Thank you. And Council President Mantello's here. We have all 7 present. Also, we have the mayor, the deputy mayor, the comptroller, and our city clerk who are joining us this evening. The approval of the minutes. Would anyone like to make a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes.
Okay, Councilmember Zalewski, and we have a second through Councilmember Gully. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? The presentation of the agenda, we have a number of ordinances, resolutions, we have some bond resolutions, and we have CDBG ordinance and CDBG resolution. At this time, I am going to withdraw Ordinance 24. Ordinance 24 is a number of transfers, and the mayor contacted me about a half an hour before the meeting to discuss this ordinance, and he's requested to withdraw it. Basically, a number of issues are going on. It's a moving target, as the mayor stated. These were a number of reductions in various departments. The mayor still intends, and I can let him talk, but he still intends to have a hiring freeze. The mayor and the administration are going to meet tomorrow to talk about a short-term and a long-term plan in terms of the impact of COVID, the impact of revenues. Clearly, revenues are going to be decreased as we move along here. And we just obviously don't know where we're going to be, but the mayor will hopefully get back to us with a long-term plan as he moves forward, dissecting the departments and the revenue projections. Mayor, did you want to add anything?
No, I think your point is well made. This is a very fluid situation. Things are moving quickly. There's still a lot of unknowns. We didn't want to put you in a position where we had to undo next month what we did this month, so we'd like a little bit more time to put a plan together. You can be assured, though, that we've instituted a hiring freeze, and we are cutting expenses wherever we can. We're holding the line on expenses. So we'll have more detail on that hopefully in the next 30 days. Some of the unknowns we're dealing with now will become a little clearer in focus.
And I fully support that, and I'm sure that the other council members, I won't speak for all of you, obviously, but I fully support, sometime hopefully within the next 3 to 4 weeks to have a plan. Hopefully by then we'll have a better picture of revenues and have a better idea maybe what type of funding, federal and state. So did anyone else before we move forward want to add anything?
Could I ask a question?
Absolutely. Council
Ma-
members.
This is for the mayor. So, Mayor, on that ordinance, there was over 2 pages worth of budget transfers. So I just want to make sure, like, obviously you did a lot of planning to put that together. And I know some of them are small amounts, some are larger amounts, but you're okay with holding off all of that for a little bit, then that's not going to adversely impact the city.
Correct. We're going to act internally as if these are changes that were made in fact. But some of them will be adjusted based on new information. So we're not going to carve them in stone at this time.
Sure. Okay. All right. Yeah, because there are a lot. That was a substantial amount of transfers.
Yes. Yep.
Question.
Yes, Councilmember Ash McPherson.
Mayor, so when you start going through these, are you going to let us know what you're doing or?
Yes, as you know, as I indicated, things are changing on a hour basis. And yes, we will keep you informed as long as you understand that it may change, that it will likely change again. The challenge really here is we know that our revenue projections are not going to hit. And we have no idea how far off they're going to be. Some of the additional expenses we're incurring as a result of the pandemic are reimbursable through FEMA, through federal allocations that are already made. But general operating expenses are not covered by that. We know AIM, we know sales tax, and we know a lot of our fees are going to take a significant hit this year. But we don't at this point in time have a clue what the magnitude of that is, nor do we have a sense as we sit here of how Washington is going to respond. There are conflicting statements coming out of DC by the majority and minority leader in the US Senate. They're diametrically opposed at this time. We need some time to wait and see how that's going to shake out.
Thank you.
Sure.
Thank you, Mayor. And, you know, obviously, don't be afraid to, you know, email us and contact us over the next week or two how everything progresses. Because as you said, it does seem to change every day or every other day.
Right.
Did any other council members, I want to make sure, because we're kind of on a delay with the folks on the phone, did anyone else want to say anything regarding that withdrawal? Okay, thank you. So
I'm okay with it.
okay, yep. So that'll officially be withdrawn. I'm the sponsor. We don't need to motion it. Also, I'm hoping maybe that we'll get through the finance in order to participate in the Bells to Recovery for the frontline folks, but we'll see. Ordinance, we have no local laws. Mara, did any comments come in for the public forum? Mara?
There's definitely one.
Yeah, I know.
Hello, I'm sorry. Hello, am I here?
Mara, did we receive any other comments outside of Sam Chapone?
No, we just got the one from the Quality of Life Committee in Little Italy supporting Resolution 39.
Very good. Okay.
Okay.
All
I
right.
didn't
Thank
see
you
that.
very much. I'm sorry.
I didn't see that email.
He did send it to all, I want to say 2 days ago.
Yep.
Council member, I'll make sure.
No, I
that-
think he actually only sent it to Ken and to Eileen and Carmela, so I can forward it to the rest of the council.
Okay, sorry about that.
Then I,
Yeah, I just realized, I thought it went to everybody, but I just realized it just went to the council members from that area. So I'll
Yeah.
forward that to everyone.
may
Okay.
I have a second?
Sure,
Can
council
we
member.
make sure when we get these information that everybody gets it? So if you get it or Ken gets it, just make sure that it's followed through to everyone, please.
Yeah, I'll make
Yes,
sure
absolutely.
that Mara can do that in the future. I honestly, I thought he sent it to all. I did not look to who he sent it to.
It was a long list of recipients. I just assumed we all got it.
Yeah. Okay, anyone else on the public forum section? All right. Local laws, no local laws, ordinance 23. And if you guys don't mind, we'll get to that after. Ordinance 23. Sorry, I'm working off my phone. Ordinance authorizing and approving the filing of the City of Troy's application for funding pursuant to the Housing and Community Development Act of 1974, the McKinney Act Emergency Shelter Grant Program, and the Home Investment Partnership Program, and designating the mayor as the authorized representative of the city for such purposes. Council President Mantello, at the request of the administration, do I have a motion?
Yep, I'll make a motion.
Make a motion.
Motion,
Second.
Councilmember Zaluski. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Second, Councilmember Cummings. Discussion?
Council President. Oop.
Okay, Councilmember Ash McPherson, and then I believe some other folks would like to speak. Go ahead, Councilmember.
I have a question on the ordinance 23 about State Street. Is that going to be the part of the CBG? Are they doing all the sidewalks, and what area of the sidewalks down there are they doing with the street, or is that just the street? The reason I'm asking, I was down there and it looked like they did that area before with CBG funding. So I'm kind of confused if they're doing it again, the same area.
I believe we have Monica. I don't know if Monica would like to answer that one, or the mayor.
Are you talking about the CDBG funding that's down? You're talking about the CDBG funding that's along State Street in the downtown area?
Correct.
Yes.
Okay, so that's, it's that area. I don't know. Kim, when was it redone?
That's what I'm asking, because when I was down there
It's
on
been decades. It's been decades. The only areas that were done previously were when under Harry, they had done Fulton Street, Broadway, and the downtown core. I don't believe State Street's been touched in a long time. If you look at the curb cuts, you'll see that they aren't really that well done. And it goes from State to, I think they were doing it from River Street to Second, that area.
Correct, and that's why I'm asking, because it was the same cutouts that they're using now that they did before, the way they're cut out, and the same brick of the red brick and so forth, and that's why I was asking, are they doing all those corners again?
If they need to be, yes, because in the 20 years or so when it was done last, the regulations have changed for ADA compliance.
I'm wondering if you might have looked at a different street, because certainly State Street is not, has not been done recently.
No.
And has
I'm
no
down
red
by-
brick.
I'm down by the Petars, by River Street, by the State Street Garage.
Yeah, but that's River Street. That's not State Street. State Street goes east and west, not
Right.
north and south.
I know that, but State Street
Okay,
comes
so
down.
from
there.
River Street, going by the YWCA, going by the attorney's office and the old insurance company, all the way over to the Troy Savings Bank Music Hall. That area has not been done in
Okay,
decades.
so it's not going down by where the old Petars was and all that.
You're talking about like going down towards,
The actual intersection with River Street is
Yes.
decent, although there are some places that still do need cuts there.
correct. And then
Yeah.
some of them aren't, again, some of them aren't to the percentage that they need to be according to DOT regulations.
Okay.
Okay,
Mhm.
good questions. You know, I did want to add, certainly the Little Italy Quality of Life Committee and all the folks in that area worked really, really hard and put together, I think, a really super solid plan. And certainly the reinvestment in that area is desperately needed. And I think all of us look forward to seeing that move forward. So, Councilmember Cummings, did you have a question or
I
you
did.
all? Okay, sorry.
Just wondering if anyone is tracking where we stand. I know CDBG funding and other and these funding streams are being talked about as places that could see significantly more investment as part of a recovery plan. I know we're early on that, but what happens with this plan should more funding come down from the federal government towards these areas?
Mary, you all right if I take this one?
Yes, yep.
Okay, so the additional funding that's coming down through the CDBG program is actually matching our dollars for ESG funds, which is the program funding that we use for the continuum of care. So this is our emergency shelters, homeless shelters, that programming, which is, without having the numbers right in front of me, just over $500,000 or so, maybe about $499. Those monies, they're working with the continuum of care to do additional spending in that regard right now, specific to COVID-19. The additional funding for the actual economic development portion of it, similar to what we're doing for the infrastructure pieces, that CDBG funding can be utilized for anything that's eligible within the program funding under the special economic development funding. We're working through that right now. It's a changing scenario on a daily basis. We haven't gotten official word from HUD as to the exact parameters that they're framing around it. We do have the dollar amount. It matches the existing dollar amount that we do for our infrastructure. But I do have a task force put together of people to help us drive the conversation as to what programs and economic development initiatives that we want to look at to help fund local business.
Great, thank you.
Yep, and it's a quick turnaround. So as soon as we know how quick those funds need to be expended, we want to get them out the door. As soon as we know we have them, we want to start getting out to the door. We have a little bit of time to actually spend them down, but we obviously want to get the funding out the door sooner than later. Yep.
Great.
And we're taking a look at things like what CARES Act is funding, loan programs through the U.S. Chamber, look at some of where the voids are, look at some of the local Troy-based manufacturers that have pivoted and started making medical supplies. How can we support that? How can we potentially support technology if technology is needed to help a business pivot in this climate as well too? We're looking at a bunch of different scenarios, a lot by listening to what people are telling us too.
Great.
Okay, thank you. Did anyone else have questions, comments?
Council President.
Sure, Councilmember Zalewski.
I'll just keep it super short because I'll probably have more to say at the May regular meeting. But as you said, the funding for Little Italy and the Quality of Life Committee, the plan that they've put together over the years, and this has been a long time coming, probably 6 or so years that they've been waiting for this funding to come back to that area. So, they're really excited about it. I'm very excited about it that I'm returning to the council at a time when this is actually happening because we talked about it, a while back. So that's it. I'm supporting it.
Yeah. Anyone else like to comment, say anything? And I'm hoping that by the May meeting, we have our kinks ironed out. So we got a couple tech guys here. Anash.
I know how to use a phone.
Okay.
Anasha went retro for this meeting.
Party line.
We have a first, we have a motion, we have a second. Further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed?
Aye.
Okay. Okay, thank you. Ordinance 23 carries 7-0. Ordinance 24 has been withdrawn, and the mayor's promised to keep us apprised. Ordinance 25, ordinance amending the oh, you know what? I apologize. Andy, I'm going to do the bonding resos prior to obviously lining up the capital projects fund. Okay?
Perfect. Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. So we will move to resolution 41. Okay? Bond resolution of the City of Troy, New York, authorizing the issuance of $850,000 serial bonds to finance the cost of an arbitration award. Council President Mantello, at the request of the
Council President,
Yes.
you have to do 40 before 41.
Okay, do you have to do the seeker
You have
first?
to do the seeker before any of them.
Okay, fair enough. I wasn't sure. So resolution 40, I apologize. We'll go to resolution 40. Resolution determining that proposed action is a type 2 action for purposes of the New York State Environmental Quality Review Act. Council President Mantello, at the request of the administration, do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion.
Motion, Councilmember Zaluski. Do I have a second?
I'll make a second.
Okay, second, Councilmember Cummings. Discussion, I'm going to hold mine for the actual bond reso, but did anyone want to discuss the seeker? Okay, all in favor? Aye.
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 Everybody, okay, 7-0. This is tough. Resolution 40 carries 7-0. Resolution 41, bond resolution of the City of Troy, New York, authorizing the issuance of $850,000 serial bonds to finance the cost of an arbitration award. Council President Mantello, at the request of the administration, do I have a motion?
Motion.
Motion, Councilmember Zaluski. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second, Councilmember Cummings. Discussion.
Council President,
Yep, Councilmember Ash McPherson.
do we know how much it costs for the arbitrations, for all these arbitrations, what we spent on this?
Including legal fees, that's something we could work on. That will take time to review all the bills. I know that the arbitrator itself was a $15,000 cost to the city. But the cost for Goldberg and Segala, we do not have that broken down.
Can I please get that?
Yes,
Yes,
I
yeah, we can work on putting that together.
good.
Thank you.
It's
I
going to
think that-
take some time though, obviously.
Okay.
Yeah, I'd just like to know how much we spent on this.
Yep. And, Mayor, I don't know, or Andy, taxpayers are, kind of wondering, from our initial proposal to the firefighters, clearly arbitration, both sides aren't fully happy with the decision, but do you feel it's fairly fair in terms of where we were early on? I'm just curious.
Yes, I do. I think, I don't think there's ever been an arbitration where both sides are happy. Probably not even an arbitration where one side is happy. These tend to be compromise deals. I'm sure that we spent a good amount of money to get to this point, but it's a pittance compared to acceding to their demands. We did try to negotiate. We put an offer on the table. No counter offer was forthcoming, and so they forced us into arbitration. We didn't like spending this money to fight this, but it is less costly than having acceded to their demands. No, we're not happy with it. They're not happy with it, and it'll continue to be a bone of contention, and we'll have to work through that.
Right, and this goes through 2018. And Andy, I did notice, are you still contemplating the ban versus the serial bond, or no?
I am. So what we will do is, presuming that this passes tonight and at the May council meeting, we're going to do what's called a local issuance, where we get quotes from 3 banks and issue through those means, as opposed to going through the market. Part of that is a timing reason, and the other is I'm a little leery right now to go to market, considering the municipal rates coming in from the big banks. I'm going to get quotes on both bands and serial bonds from 3 banks and evaluate the best interest of the city. If we get a really good quote on a serial bond, we may just serial bond it. It would fix it to the budget, which would be the reason for doing it. With a band, for those who don't know, you don't have to make a principal payment in year 1, but the period of probable usefulness on this is 5 years. So really, we should begin making principal payments right away on this.
Right. You know, and some folks have, you know, made comments like, you know, how can you turn around, do raises, et cetera, when obviously with the COVID-19, we're so vulnerable right now in terms of revenue, et cetera. But obviously, this is an arbitration decision. And I believe we have 60 days to approve it, correct, Mayor?
We have 90 days to pay the retro from the date of the award.
Okay, thank you. Did anyone else have questions, comments? Okay. Further discussion? All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Okay. Okay.
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Any recusals? Okay, 7-0. Resolution 41. Resolution 42. Bond resolution of the City of Troy, New York, authorizing the issuance of $1,416,280 serial bonds to finance the cost of the construction of the South Troy Industrial Roadway. Do I have a motion?
Make a motion?
Motion, Councilmember Zaluski. Do I have a second? We have a second when Councilmember Gully. Monica, I'm going to ask you to kind of walk us through. Obviously, we've bonded for the roadway a few times. The bids are out, which went out, I believe, a couple of weeks ago. Maybe you could fill us in what the additional monies here. And, you know, obviously, this has been in the works for a couple decades. Why do we need these additional monies and before the bids come back, and what are they exactly for? And maybe you could fill us in.
Actually, I'm going to kick this one to Andy because it's more of a financial aspect of it and the way that the bonds and the Marchicellis and everything are working.
Yeah. So the bids are actually in. We opened them 2 weeks ago, I believe.
April 8th.
So the reason for the bond resolution increase is that the way these projects work is there's incremental increases to the project as they go. The total project is set with CDTC at the outset, but so you have CDTC, the city, and then DOT. Then the city and DOT amend the project as they go. So there's 3 phases. There's design, right away, and construction. In 2019, there were 2 supplemental agreements passed for this project. It added the construction cost for phase 1, and it added the design and the beginning phasing of funding for right-of-way. For projects like this that are DOT funded, so the funding of the project is allocated, 80% is guaranteed by the federal government. Up to 15% is funded through what's called Marchicelli, which is throughway tolls from the state, and anywhere from, so you have up to 15, and then anywhere from 5 to 20% is the local match. Well, at the time of the supplemental agreement, there were no additional bond resolutions that were brought forward to mirror the bond resolution has to agree for cash flow purposes to the supplemental agreement. This bond resolution for $1,416,280 mirrors the project budget that has been approved by the city council and signed off on by the state for the supplemental agreements that were passed last year.
Andy?
Yes.
I'm on mute. Councilmember Ash McPherson?
What, Andy, what is the total cost of this project?
So total all in approved by CDTC. Now, I say approved by CDTC, that has not gone through state and local agreements yet, but the total project budget, including phase 1 and phase 2, is $13 million. Of that, 9.4 million is federally funded. As it currently stands, 335,000 is Marchicelli. There is no Marchicelli right now. That is why that's very low. Obviously, with everything going on, it's just they're not allocating a Marchicelli right now. The local funding of for the city's general fund is $2 million, and for the water main project, that is not, because that's not obviously part of the road. That is not eligible for the grant funding. So as it currently stands right now, $1.2 million is coming from the water fund. It is not a part of the bond resolution.
So one
So I
point,
just want to,
oh, sorry. So 1.2.
no, okay, go ahead.
1.2 is coming from the water fund?
Yes, that was approved by the city council as part of the 2019 capital plan.
Part of the budget.
Yes.
So I
How
just
you-
want to put a word of caution here because Andy just said that the 2 total phases is a little over $13 million. That's what's available in funding. There's potential because we haven't gone to right-of-way acquisition or construction or bidding for phase 2, that number will actually exceed the 13 million. I just want to make sure people understand that. That's what the budget is approved at this moment in time.
So it's going to exceed the 13 million is what you're saying?
It could.
It could, yes, depending on bids and right away and how much it costs us to do all of that stuff. But I don't want it to be next year when we go out for phase 2 that we're coming to you saying, hey, you know what, this is the cost of that. And you're going to say, no, you said it was 13 million. That's the amount of eligible funding that there is right now for the project based on what CDTC has allocated and the total costs incurred to date.
Has any of this project started on the roadway yet? None of it started, correct?
No, it has not started because we have to make sure that these documents all match up so that we can sign the contract and start moving.
And if phase 1 happens,
Can we try to just, Councilmember Cummings?
phase 1 gets underway, and then the phase 2, if that were to get significantly more expensive, does starting on phase 1 lock us into a particular plan on what happens with phase 2?
Good question.
Well, the design's already done.
Right.
So the design is already done. The 2 tips have been split at CDTC. So as we work, and so phase 2 will be done kind of simultaneously as we're working on constructing phase 1. So while we're constructing phase 1, and honestly, we're already working on the right-of-way acquisition and negotiations and design, well, not design, but that part of it so that we can get up to bid and go for the second place. It'll have the very similar process as we did for phase 1, where we have to get everything in place, all the right-of-way acquisition in place before we can actually go out to bid. Remember, that was our hold up last time.
I guess in particular, my sense is that there will be significantly stickier right-of-way acquisition issues along phase 2.
Absolutely.
I'm not saying something, because phase 1 wasn't easy. So if only phase 1 happens, what happens in that case?
Yeah. Question.
Monica?
I don't know. I don't know that answer because it was never in my mind that phase 2 wouldn't happen.
I mean, obviously, we're hoping the whole thing happens. But I just know that there are some significantly sticky issues on the right-of-way acquisition there.
So I want to let you know that while we've been doing all of this, honestly, since, gosh, I was doing economic development, we've been having conversations with all of those parties in place on phase 2. So they're already they're further down the road than just an opening conversation.
Absolutely.
Council President.
Councilmember Ash McPherson.
Sorry, can I?
Oh, I'm
I'm
sorry.
sorry. Councilmember Cummings, go ahead, sorry.
I mean, I guess in particular, where do we stand with the Bruno building?
Well, that's going to be a part of the right-of-way acquisition. I mean, we know
Right.
what we need to take. We know they've presented all the documents. I mean, back, good heavens, when Kim was on the council the first time around, when you guys approved the right-of-way acquisition documents back at that point in time, everybody got their letters. They know what the design of the road is and the construction plan. So it's a matter of coming up with, market value and an offer and going in that direction. And then if it's not a negotiation, there's a potential eminent domain factor allowable.
And so with the federal funding under phase 1, is there any potential for us being left on the hook for more of phase 1 if phase 2 gets stalled? Or are they completely independent?
That one since we split it into 2 tips, I would have to actually ask. I will get you that information.
Great. Thank you.
Okay. Councilmember Ash McPherson?
I'm good.
Okay. Councilmember Cummings, I was going to ask that question also. Did anyone else have questions?
Yeah, Council President?
Yep, Councilmember Zaluski.
We've already spent something like somewhere between $1 and $2 million on the project. Is that correct?
I believe so. If you give me 1 second, I can pull it up.
Okay.
And Andy, while you're looking that up, I did ask for a breakdown on each of these, just how much has been spent. It would help us, and your breakdown earlier of the 13.3 mil, if you could send us an email on that, it'd be great. But-
I will. Can I send the total cost? Because in order to do it, I have to remote into my desktop at work, and I'm afraid it's going to get weird when I have that going on with this.
Sure. I guess, can I ask a more generic question then that you hopefully don't have to log in for? This is a follow-up to that. So I know we've spent, we've spent a certain amount of money so far. The project is looking like 13 million, could go over, maybe it could come in under. What are the maybe two of the largest expenses of that 13 million? I mean, we're talking about a road. What is the 13 million being spent on? What are maybe the 2 largest pieces of that are costing so much money?
So the budget breakdown, so the 13 includes the water main. So taking out the water main, it's still a big number, right? But it's 11.8. Of the 11.8, the budget with CDTC is broken down as 1.9 in design, 1.8 in right of way, and 8 million in construction. I'll send this out to the council.
Okay.
Yes, please.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yes. Did you get my email about a week ago, Andy, asking for the breakdown? I sent it on Friday.
I ran out of time trying to finish and file that AUD.
Okay. Yep.
I apologize.
Further questions? Okay, it's so much easier if you guys don't mind. I'm going to do a slow roll. Councilmember Gully?
Yes.
Councilmember Ash McPherson? Kim?
No.
Okay. Councilmember Steele?
Yes.
Councilmember Cummings?
Yeah.
Councilmember Zaluski?
Aye.
Councilmember McDermott?
Yeah.
Council President Mantello, I'm just going to give a very quick 45-second. This project obviously has lingered for decades. And, while I think the financing for this project, I think we're up a little over 20%. I think I read, okay, so phase one, we're at 20.5%. Phase two, it looks like we'll be 20% committed from the city. I have supported each of the bond resolutions for this project to match the monies that we've received. And I'm committed to seeing the South Troy roadway move forward. You know, all of us obviously hear from South Troy folks who have had to endure foundation cracks and things to that nature, and trucks barreling through the neighborhoods. And I know we're trying to control that as much as possible. But obviously, if we can get this roadway going, it'll free up the industrial park. It'll free up, hopefully, I'd like to see some barging actually happen on the waterway. And Skolite, this would open up the potential for Skolite. So while obviously I'm concerned about the bonding, I'm totally committed to seeing this project move forward. So I vote aye. So resolution 42 passes 6-1. Okay. Resolution 43, bond resolution of the City of Troy, New York, authorizing the issuance of $475,000 serial bonds to finance the cost of reconstruction of a seawall. Do I have a motion?
Motion.
Motion, Councilmember Zaluski. Do I have a second? Second, Councilmember Cummings. Discussion. My biggest question on this one, Monica, tell me this is to complete this project.
It is, believe me, God help me. You know, so I think part of the challenge was with the construction admin, we didn't anticipate obviously running into 2020 for the inspection services. And then the additional fencing, because we were doing new fencing a portion of the way, we decided to extend the fencing to include a majority of Riverfront Park all the way down to Monument Square. And that also incorporated the areas where the large ships come in and dock, so that it actually cleaned up that whole area down by the memorials and stuff as well too.
Okay. Any questions, council members?
Yes.
Council President?
Okay, Councilmember Ash McPherson and then Councilmember Cummings.
I just like to have the total cost of this project, Monica, please.
On the based on the resolution 26.8, if you look in your memo of support.
Yep.
For this total is 26.8.
Correct.
Correct.
Okay. Thank you.
Monica, what was the federal monies toward that? 13 and change, was it, or?
Yeah, I think it's 13.5, I believe. We did put in, prior to COVID-19, we did put in to request additional funding. We'll have to see what happens and what transpires, but we did put a request in if there was any outstanding funds anywhere, but that could be by the wayside now.
Okay, well, it was flood mitigation. And Councilmember Cummings.
Just since we're talking about the fences, was wondering whether we had any ability to save and reuse the existing fence that was down there.
We can certainly take it, and not quite sure where you want to put it. And how you have to, I mean, certainly we can take a look at it, but you'd have to fabricate it. It's pretty old fence, yeah, but we can certainly take a look at it. But
I think it certainly would get us a long way towards the dog park. So if it could be brought up to that site in Prospect Park for now, I think that'd be helpful.
Well, we can certainly take a look at what's resurrected from it as well.
Great.
Further discussion or questions? I'm going to do a slow roll. It's just easier for Mara to keep track of votes. Councilmember Gully?
Yes.
Councilmember Ash McPherson?
No.
Councilmember Steele?
Yes.
Councilmember Cummings?
Yes.
Councilmember Zaluski?
Aye.
Councilmember McDermott?
Yes.
And Council President Mantello, I do want to make an overall statement. I am supporting the firefighters. Obviously, I already have, I'm supporting this one. They're ongoing projects. And this one hopefully will complete this really important project, not just for the mitigation of flooding, but certainly open up our waterfront. But you know, stating that I am supporting these because they are ongoing projects, and this particular project, I hope this will complete it, Monica. Please don't come back.
Oh, you don't have to worry about that. I've already put the kibosh on everything else, so they all know that. No, we're like really in the home stretch, and I have to say, as much as there is hard to find a silver lining in this issue that we're in right now, the ability, since it was an essential project and it was something that was an ongoing project, the ability for them to get the work done right now has been tremendous.
Okay. What's the completion date? I don't think I heard that. Are you looking a few months or earlier?
We're actually looking part of the challenge we've had is some of our contractors for the marina area are actually out of Vermont, and Vermont has different regulations in place right now than we do for essential work. So we're hopeful that we're still going to hit the July 1st timeframe, but we have to wait to see what happens in these next couple weeks as far as some of the other contractors that can come onto the job site.
Okay. Councilmember Cummings?
Is the plan at this point still, I mean, obviously it all depends on what's happening at the moment, but are you still aiming to open the marina this summer if possible?
If possible, absolutely. A lot of it's going to dictate and that's the Dock Masters is the contractor that we're working with out of Vermont, and that's the challenge we have right now. They're considered non-essential in Vermont, even though they're working for an essential company, an essential business. Their governor has not loosened up their restrictions yet for them to be able to deliver all the equipment and all the systems that we need to get them installed. Hopefully that'll change in the next couple weeks, if not sooner.
Okay. We have 6-1, so resolution, I apologize.
43.
Thank you, 43.
43.
Resolution 43 carries 6-1. All right. Resolution 44. Bear with me. This is for the seeker for the State Street resolution determining that proposed action is a type 2 action for purposes of the New York State Environmental Quality Review Act. Council President Mantello, at the request of the administration, do I have a motion?
Make a motion.
Motion, Councilmember Zaluski. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second, Councilmember Cummings. Discussion on the seeker. All in favor?
No.
All right, we'll do slow roll.
Want to do a roll or not?
Slow roll, yeah. Councilmember Gully,
Yes.
Councilmember Ashton McPherson,
No.
Councilmember Steele,
Yes.
Councilmember Cummings,
Yes.
Councilmember Zaluski,
Aye.
sorry, Councilmember McDermott,
Yes.
Council President Mantello. I'll withhold my comments for the actual bond resolution. I vote no. So resolution 44 carries 5-2. Resolution 45, bond resolution of the City of Troy, New York, authorizing the issuance of $2 million serial bonds to finance the reconstruction and improvement of a city parking garage. Do I have a motion?
Make a motion.
Motion, Councilmember Zaluski. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second, Councilmember Cummings, discussion.
Council President,
Councilmember Ash McPherson.
I went down and I did a walkthrough and I walked around on the property. I agree that this is there's much needed work that needs to be done on this. I'm just questioning the timing of it right now. With everything else that's going on, we don't know where our finances are going to be. Is this something that we can hold off, table for a little bit till we get a better grip on our finances instead of putting a $2 million bond out there for a parking garage? That yes, it does bring in some revenue right now, but there's other things that bring in revenue in the city, and we've put that all on halt. I just don't want to go ahead and spend $2 million and we're looking down the line, and when we get down to our budget and whatnot, we may be broke and need to bond money to run city services. So is this something that can be put on hold temporarily? Like I said, I do agree. It needs a lot of work down there. The tower, Monica, you said that they closed part of the tower down. I walked up and down the whole tower. There was no cutoffs on there. So I'm not sure where that was.
Okay, I'll make sure to let Sean and those guys know.
Yeah, because when you said that, you know, there was some work done down there, I looked around. I mean, there things that can be done to hold it over for 6 months or so, till we can finally get through the pandemic and see what's going on? Is there, I mean, there was people on top of, which I thought was pretty cool, on top of there doing exercises, looking out to the river. They were using it as their little area. I thought it was pretty cool doing that. But like I said, I just want to know if we can really, or should we really be bonding for the garage right now? If we can kind of look at this, maybe table it and.
Are you making a motion to table?
Well, we're in the discussion of it right now. So
Okay.
if that, yeah, I'll make the motion but I want to be in the discussion with it.
Okay, Monica, won't you answer some of the council members' questions? Can we do emergency repairs for the time being?
I can certainly do repairs, just Andy needs to tell me where I'm going to take the money from, because with the bonding, it allows us to spend that money in a different way and be able to pay for it over time, where if I spent the cash right now, it would be a different story. Andy, do you want to go through the bonding first and then I'll go into the repairs?
Yeah, I think that.
I'd rather hear some of the repairs first, Monica.
Well, the repairs are exactly what we sent to you. It's the spalling, the degradation of the concrete, the plumbing repairs, including, I sent you along, I don't know, Kim, if you got a chance to read the email I sent this afternoon.
I read it all.
Right, so there's a fire protection system that needs to be replaced. It's completely non-operable at this point in time. All the roof leaders need to be repaired. The challenge is if you go, and what we've done over the winter and when we've had issues is we go in and we chip some of the spalling, make sure that it's not loose and falling on vehicles. We do get reports every once in a while of that kind of activity. You know, but I think that the challenge becomes is, you know, if you do, say you do some sealing of that, if you don't do and fix the repairs to the roof leaders, all you're doing is further degrading it, and even more so just because the water's going to seep. So there's a ripple effect. You can fix one thing, but it's going to be a temporary fix, and you're just essentially throwing money down the drain.
Correct.
Sure, you know, there's correct. So I mean, there's certain things.
I'm sorry.
And I'm going to.
Go ahead.
As far as splitting up the work, you can certainly wait and do it later. It's probably going to cost you more if we go back out to bid with this, because people are actually not working right now and they're looking for work. So the pricing, and especially if the economy opens back up and construction opens back up, they're going to get flooded with work. So their pricing might be different later on. Again, we don't know what bonding rates are going to be later on down the road. Andy knows what that is right now at this moment in time. Again, you're going to spread it out over a 15-year payment versus spending the cash that we actually need to operate right now. I can certainly break it up. I can shut down I can shut down the stairway and everybody can walk, and make sure that if you park on the upstairs, you can walk down the thing. We can certainly take a look at those things. I don't think it's appropriate I don't think that it's probably in our best interest. There's still a liability, as Jim will tell you. He's probably shaking his head. I don't see his face. But if we know about something and we know about a hazard and we have a report of which we have made public, you know what I mean? Those are things that are going to be liabilities for us down the road.
Again, I'm not saying I disagree with the repairs that need to be done. I completely agree with it. I just think it's the timing. And that's what I'm saying, is this something that we can hold off a little bit more on? That's all I'm asking.
Sure, you
And-
can always hold on, and it could potentially cost you more down the road, or you can have a liability that affects you between now and then.
Well, I
Absolutely, you
agree.
can, as long as
Well-
we know what the risks are.
Well, as long as we know that the tower wasn't shut down, we don't maintain the property, and I'm not just saying this on this administration, it's all the administrations prior. We don't maintain the property. So now we're in a time where it's a pandemic, and when we got people that are losing jobs and whatnot, we are going to be diminishing our tax base with people possibly losing their homes. I'm just asking if we can kind of just take a little step back and take a deep breath for $2 million and just hold it for a little while longer. That's all I'm asking.
Andy, do you
Thank
want to go into the financials so that people understand what the cost is actually going to be for this year?
Yeah, so I'll go through the bonding first and then kind of address the deputy mayor's other point about finding money this year. So you pass with the bond, again, hypothetically, if the bond resolution passes, this would be issued as part of our July issuance, which will go, that happens on July 30th of this year. Am I going to issue 2 million? Probably not. I will probably issue based off the budget for the project the deputy mayor comes up with. There's a contingency in this. If that's needed, we can certainly evaluate that. The next round of issuance, which would occur, I believe that will be about February 1st, 2021. Because this is a 15-year project, I would issue a ban. But the rules with bans are you do not have to make a principal payment in the first year of issuance. So the cost exposure to the city on this debt would occur in 2021, would be interest only, and principal payments would begin in 2022. Running two different analysis on this debt. Running it at issuing it. Now, this is assuming the debt's issued at $2 million. And using the average it sold in January, February, and March of 2020 at $60 a month, that would generate over 15 years, $2.43 million. Total debt cost would be $2.427 million. The city would essentially break even on that. Assume the total project cost and the debt issuance was $1.8 million. Same assumptions were made on revenue, 2.43. Total debt cost, $2.186 million, a net savings over revenue of $243,000. I mean, again, that's a very basic analysis, but that's what it shows. In regards to the deputy mayor's comment of me finding money for her to do interim repairs, I will be really honest. The schedule lay on the council that was withdrawn tonight. You saw the reductions. I do not foresee me being able to find money right now in the world that we're living in to fund work to be done on that garage. That's just the stark reality of where we sit here today. Could that change 6 months from now? It certainly could. But as I sit here today, that's the reality of how I look at things, which is rather conservative, as all of you know.
Councilmember Ash McPherson, you still have the floor. Do you have further questions, comments?
No, not at this time.
Okay.
Council President, this is Sue Steele.
Yes, Councilmember Steele.
You know, I think none of us want to in-debt our constituents, but here's the thing. We need to learn from history. And what has Troy done repeatedly? Ignored its assets. We have an asset here that is a revenue generator. We need to take care of it. We need to take advantage of the fact that we have a good price right now and the market is good. The unknown before us, yes, but the unknown also includes what will the impact be on future bids and future pricing and the market and whatever. I think as difficult a decision as it is, I think we need to lock it in now and take care of what we have and, pull up our big boy pants.
Council President?
I'm going to, I do want to thank Andy and Monica. Several materials have been sent to us, the backup, the information on this. However, I did mention this when I read this in the Times-Union. If you recall, there was an article in the Times-Union. The council was not apprised of this during the budget process when the capital plan was being developed back in October, November. Certainly we knew about this structure potentially having major issues. And, I'm very concerned that this was not discussed during the budget process. But today, and this is just information for the council and you can digest it the way you want, the state comptroller actually did a report on revenues coming in, et cetera. And I pulled one sentence from the New York State Comptroller's report. So just let me read it quickly. Tax revenues are going to be lower in the near term and likely well beyond. The state should minimize long-term costs from any new debt and commit to building a rainy day fund. The road ahead is challenging and requires long-term strategy. In my opinion, I get it. We need to do emergency repairs on this structure. Clearly, it was known before today, before 2 months ago. It was known probably a while ago. I will support emergency repairs if the administration wants to come back with a contingency plan. And if we can lower this bonding, my fear is, as Councilmember Ash McPherson stated, if we do at some point need to bond, we need to have that ability to potentially bond down the road to actually get us through the end of the year. I'm super concerned. We're seeing municipalities already put in play austerity budgets, hiring freezes. We are doing the hiring freeze, but I am super concerned about our budget. And I just think that the time to bond for this 2 mil, and I get it, Andy, that the first payment will be a year out. My issue is not so much the payments, but the issue of holding that bonding for a potential very stormy day here in the city of Troy, if September, October, because people aren't just going to be able to soak up a double-digit tax increase. So I'm open to emergency repairs for the time being, but I'd like to hold off. The time is not now to bond for this 2 mil. And I'd like to hold off and hold that 2 million or whatever it may be down the road if we need to bond to get our taxpayers through the end of the year. And there's so much uncertainty right now. That's my concern.
Council President?
Yes.
Just directly on that, are you suggesting there may be some
I'm sorry, you're on a
potential-
delay. I apologize, you were on a delay. Councilmember Cummings?
Just want to clarify, are you suggesting there may be some potential to bond for operating funds in the case of a deficit?
No, what I'm saying is potentially, we don't know what the world's going to look like in September or October. And if we do need a one shot, I mean, I don't know. I don't even know if that's feasible. But what I'm saying, I can't support a $2 million bond right now, not knowing where we're going to be, heck, 3-4 weeks from now.
I guess I'm just not.
And we don't have our first quarter still. So we don't even know where we are with our first quarter at this point.
No, agreed. I'm not seeing the connection in terms of how this bond affects our future ability to borrow. And I guess if there's any insight Andy has on that future bonding potential and how that's impacted, that would be helpful. The more broad comment I just want to make sure to make as well, in terms of timing here, certainly if bond rates are still good and construction rates are still good, that's very favorable to me compared to the borrowing against the future, which is continued deferred maintenance. You know, we continue to pretend that deferred maintenance is not borrowing against the future, but it is, and it's significant. You know, being able to saying we're committing to continue having someone go down there every day and make sure stuff isn't falling on cars. That costs money. In terms of our operating budget right now, which is where the crunch is. And then from a broader economic standpoint, in economic recessions and the such, that is the time when we should be seeing infrastructure investment going into these kind of shovel-ready projects, because they'll pay dividends in the long term and help our economy be ready to rebound, as well as, you know, injecting $2.some million into our local economy here with contractors and everything else. And to me, it makes sense to move forward as long as it doesn't impact our longer term ability. Just from a broad sort of Keynesian economic standpoint, this is the time to be investing. I did want to get clarification from Andy on that bonding potential question, and as well as just making sure there aren't potential state or federal infrastructure funding that would be applicable to this repair project. I know
Yeah, so
they're all thinking about these.
I think I got all, I think let me know if I don't answer everything that you're looking for.
Thanks.
All right, so first, bonding for operating costs. There are debt mechanisms that you can issue. They're not serial bonds, they're not bond anticipation notes. They're called revenue anticipation notes. And quite frankly, as to use the term of the mayor, that is simply kicking the can down the road. You're borrowing against, for example, sales tax, which is first already collateralized on the MAC debt. And then we're going to borrow, hypothetically, right? You're going to issue a RAND today against sales tax in the future. Well, when you get the sales tax proceeds in, you're just paying off that note. So you're merely just kicking your issue out longer. In regards to how this would impact our long-term bonding capabilities, first, all debt issuances are approved by the State Comptroller's Office. They review every issuance that we put out. In regards to rates, I talked to our financial advisor pertaining to debt on Tuesday. What they're seeing is the first indication since the Monday after the Federal Reserve cut the interest rates to zero, the first indication that market is in some form stabilizing back to what it was at the end of January and February. So there is some stabilization right now on muni rates. There still needs to come down some. I will say that the numbers I ran on the debt that I just stated were run based off of numbers I received from the financial advisor, plus a little bit on the percentage points, just to be on the cautious sides of things, given what we're seeing right now. I don't know if that answers your question about the long-term debt. I don't think that this, quite honestly, will skew our ability to issue if this is approved or not. We have much bigger bond resolutions that are out there. So that's kind of my perspective on it.
Did anyone else?
And again, I go back, and again, I don't want to be the dead horse, but I go back to, again, I do not foresee the city being able to finance, as we sit here today, any bridge financing funded through cash flow to Band-Aid fix parts of this garage. It just, as we sit here today, that does not exist.
I get that, Andy, and I'm open to bringing this 2 million down for emergency repairs only. I just, I'm having a real hard time swallowing this with so much uncertainty. And when the state comptroller is telling the state, you know, not to issue any new debt and do what you can for a rainy day fund. I think the timing of this is just way off. And if we can do emergency repairs, I would support some type of contingency plan if the administration came back. But that's just me. And, obviously I'm just expressing my views. Further
Council President?
discussion, comments?
Council President,
Yes, Councilmember Gully.
question for Andy. Andy, I know that you're looking at a July issuance and that happens in August, am I right?
It's July 30th. I realized after we talked the other day.
July 30th, okay. And the next issuance would be January, am I right?
Yes,
So that's 5 months.
yes.
Yeah, so January, that's 5 months. In 5 months, we should have a clearer picture of where we stand through the financial embracement we're going through with this virus. Will we have some sort of indication at that time where we stand as far as how we've gained or lost throughout every piece of operation in the city?
I would imagine there's still going to be, unless it's a complicated question, right? If the federal government does a phase 4 funding and they fund state and local governments, I would say we'd have a better picture. If there's no phase 4, that state budget reserves the right at any point in time to cut funding. So that I can't definitively answer that question. I mean, if we were to wait till January and the low bid on the project doesn't agree to wait until the funding's there, the city's going to rebid it. And as the deputy mayor said, it's hard to imagine that when private construction comes back online, we're going to get a bid akin to what we got on this. And again, the bond resolution before you has a contingency built into it already. So it's not guaranteed that the project's going to be $2 million.
Correct. I understand that. And another question, do you feel that in 4 months that the economy, or 5 months, the economy is going to be that farther ahead where you believe that the bids would go up that much? Because I'm not seeing that in the construction field at all right now. And I think that we have a great relationship with CD Perry. Do we have the ability to find out if CD Perry could hold that number until January?
Monica, do you have an idea?
I mean, honestly, the bid documents, the RFP that I sent to you guys today, our legal documents actually say that the bids are only good for 60 days.
Correct.
So we'd have to actually enter into a contract with CD Perry. And in order for me to do that, I need a bonding authorization in order to sign a contract, in order to hold that price. So, I mean, you got to remember, with apprenticeship programs, there's always a minimum wage, or the prevailing wage increases every July. So you are going to have, you know what I mean? So there's a few things that are going to change over the course of the next several months. Yep. So to try to ask them to hold the price, especially if material costs go up, or, the price of concrete goes up, oil sales and gas sales and all of those industries are really low right now. So I don't know. I doubt that they would hold bids that long. Typically it's not done past even a 90-day without a refresh.
And Andy, you've stated that the revenue generated by the garage has the feasible ability, if we don't lose any clients, and I believe there's a waiting list on that garage. If we don't lose any clients, that the revenue from that operation will pay for that bond. Am I right?
Yes, and the waiting list on that garage, I was told today, is 80 people.
So here's what I will tell you. It looks like, from the business standpoint, it looks like a very attractive business deal, because you're getting your money at a very low interest rate. You're getting a project at a very reasonable rate. The frustration is just the timing. I mean, there's an inevitable unknown, and the mayor stated this in his first statement. There's a lot of unknowns that we don't know we're going to have. There's a lot of variables. And as he said, we just need a little bit more time. And that's, listen, I like this project. I think it's a great project. Yes, we have been terrible maintenance landlords for our own properties. But the reality is that we're in a situation where just because it's an attractive deal doesn't mean it's a deal that we should just jump forward with. It's like wanting a car and not having the raise yet for your job, but you're getting in January, so you're holding off to get that vehicle till you have that comfortability in your budget. I just see a lot of excuse me.
Councilmember Gully, I'm just going to ask if everyone can mute. I'm getting some interference from someone's phone or something. Sorry, Councilmember. Go
That's
ahead.
right. I couldn't hear it, so I apologize. Again, and I know he has something to say because he came back on, but there's a lot of additional expenses and other operating expenses that we don't even know what we're going to get hit with. And I'm telling you again, I like this project. I think dollar for dollar, it's a good project. I just think the timing has a little worry to it because we seem to always reach back to the taxpayer when things don't work out. It's not as though we have additional or other revenue sources. And we don't know if we can count on the phase 4. We don't know if we can count on some of the funding that we might have been looking for in the future. I just don't know. I'm a little confused because I like the project, but I have an eerie feeling that timing is just not right on this one. And Mayor, if you'd like to add something to it, I'd honorably like to hear what you have to say.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
So I just want to add that there's no way that we're going to come up with cash for temporary repairs. That's just that's an impossibility at this time. At some point this summer, if we don't do the repairs, we'll likely close portions or all of the garage. So I'm just putting that out there as facts for you to consider as you contemplate your decision.
Council President?
Yes, Councilmember Gully.
Mr. Mayor, I also drove down to that garage and looked around at the repairs that we were making, the netting on the roof, the scaling down of the concrete that was chafing. Of course, the drain system there is atrocious. And I can agree that definitely needs to be repaired. There's leaks all over. And the concrete could use a new facelift. I understand that, but what I'm saying is all along this year, those small repairs that we made by sending somebody down, we're looking for 5 months, not 5 years, just 5 months to see what kind of financial or fiscal picture we have for the city and for the 2021 budget. Wouldn't it be prudent just to take a little bit of time and find out where our bank account is and where we stand? Because that 160,000 that we're bringing in could be important next year to us, along with the 600 some odd thousand that you were looking to shave. We're getting close to $1 million there. We might need all that money. I'm not, unless you have clarity that you say, Jim, we could do without it and we're going to be okay. But I'm just thinking that we have some unexpected and unknown inevitables coming our way. And I'd much rather see that garage wait than have you have to lay off some of our street workers or people that perform services for our city residents. And I just would think that we have to take a step and really think about this. I want this project too. That garage should be done. I just don't know if it should be done right now. And I don't want to do that at the expense of our workforce or our budget over the next 4 months, when we can just realistically, over 4 months, you're not going to put that much emergency money in there. In fact, as far as I'm concerned, you can let it go the way it is for the 4 months because people are still using it and still parking there. I just like to see us be a little cautious with all the inevitable unknowns that we have in front of us. Do we want to go tipping our water or tipping our glass over here? So that's just my thought. And I'm just really skeptical on this. I love the project. I just don't love the timing.
Council President?
Yes, is that Councilmember Steele?
Yes. Jim, I totally understand what you're saying. The timing is not great, but putting it off, I think the timing will be even worse. Yes, it's a whole lot of big unknowns, and I don't think it's going to get better. So So my feeling is we should lock in now, and protect that asset, because not only is it a revenue generator, but it's already also a liability waiting to happen. And one of those, it'll only take one person who gets hurt or a car that gets, and we will be sued and we will not have the money to pay for it. So I don't see, none of us want to do this necessarily at this point in time, but I think putting it off is, again, kicking the can down the road and into an unknown that I feel is not going to be financially in our favor.
Council President?
Hold on, sorry, I was on mute. Thank you, Councilmember Steele. Councilmember Gully.
Councilwoman Steele, I understand your point, but I will tell you, I never live my life in fear. I always focus on what the logistics are and what I feel are the best move for many, not a few. And we have 50,000 people that are residents of this city, and we need to be concerned about all of them. And I don't, that $160,000 revenue is there. And I understand that we could invest it into the building. I'm not asking for a long period of time. I'm just asking the council members to consider about 4 months. And I want you to think how fast your term has gone from January to now. And that's what we're looking for. A couple breaths and we're there, but we would have a lot more knowledge on where we stand financially within that time period. So it's not as though I'm kicking the can down the road. I might roll it over a couple times to get to November, but I'm telling you, I like the project, and I would support the project at a different time when we have more answers to our fiscal situation and our financial picture going into 2021. And I just think that we have to be a little cautious. And I just want to let you know how I feel. And I'm certainly not trying to change anybody's mind. I'm just trying to say that maybe we got to take a step back, because measuring twice and cutting once always seems to work for me.
Okay.
Council President?
Yes, Councilmember Zaluski.
Yeah, so, well, first of all, we were talking about, trying to lock in the rate and delaying it. And we have our corporation counsel on, and I saw we should just get, a legal opinion on the ability to do that. I don't think it's legal to do that, but I think that we should get the official opinion from Jim Caruso. So I'd just like to hear from him briefly.
Jim Caruso? Jim?
Okay, maybe we lost him.
I think he's muted. Jim, you may need to, yeah, there you go.
You can see him?
Jim,
Can you hear me now?
Jim, try again now.
Yeah, we
We
can
can
hear you.
hear you. I can't see you, but we can hear you.
Can you hear me?
Councilmember Zaluski had a question. Were you able?
Right. Everybody makes really, really sound arguments. Councilmember Ash McPherson, Council President, Councilmember Gully, Councilmember Steele. I got to look at it from this perspective. Yes, $2 million is a lot of money, and probably it's not the best time to do it. But we have one person. We're aware of the condition of this parking garage. This parking garage has been in crummy condition for a long time. I used to park there. We know it's in bad condition. We have liability. Somebody falls down the stairs, piece of concrete comes out, hits somebody in the head. We're not going to be able to claim the prior notice statute. We know about it. This is one of those things where, yeah, $2 million is a lot of money, but $3 million, $4 million, $5 million for an injured citizen is even more money. And we're going to end up bonding that anyway. I think it's a situation where we have to cut off a potential liability at the pass, and that is get this done now.
I think Councilmember Zaluski's question now, is it legal? What Councilmember Gully was suggesting to lock in, is that even something that would be legal? That's, I believe, Councilmember Zaluski was asking, correct? Okay.
Could he rephrase that question? Because I'm not sure if this is a legal question or if this is a financial question.
think it's a contract question.
Contract.
Could you
Go ahead.
formulate a contract that locked in the rate? I mean, logistically, it sounds like we got an answer that it wasn't logistically possible, but contractually, could you theoretically?
I'll ask Andy for backup on this, but I think it depends on the lender. Will the lender allow you to lock in a rate now in the event that we need money in the future? I really do think that's a financial question.
That's the answer to that's no. You can't lock in a rate today to issue debt later on. You get the so the way that when we issued, so for example, the July issuance, we are starting to work on the July issuance now. We'll lock numbers in, I would imagine, probably mid to late May at the absolute latest. It will go out to bid early June through the depository trust company. We'll get, it's all run through there, and along with fiscal advisors, we'll get bids back, and that's the issuance. So there's no move. What you issue is the rate you get it on. And the reason for that is at different dollar amounts, different financial institutions start to bid just based off their risk thresholds.
I'm being informed that Councilmember Ash McPherson can't get her mute off. I
Could
can
ever
try.
call me? I can merge her in.
There you
Okay.
go. No,
Okay.
the organizer muted me. I've been trying to speak, so you guys have been lucky.
Okay.
I'm sorry to interrupt. I just want to say, in looking in the memo of support, we still have to, this memo in support is showing for plumbing, for electrical work. We have no plumbing in here either. So we're going to have to come out again to figure out for the plumbing what they're going to cost for that, because it's not included in their bid. It's not included in their bid. Their bid is only for electrical. C. Perry has only got electrical and only for the construction. They do not have the plumbing in there. So if we're just looking for additional 4 months just to try to, I mean, what are you looking at, $30,000, $40,000 for the plumbing? I mean, again, I'm not construction.
$30,000 or $40,000, $120,000 to $130,000 was the projected estimate that we sent to you.
For the plumbing?
Correct. The bid came in at 190. That was on the bid sheet that I forwarded to you.
Right.
And the projection based off of CHA was 120 to 130,000. We factored that into the budget I presented to Andy, along with contingency, along with inspection and construction admin. We project that it's going to cost about 1.8.
Well, again, if we could just really consider this, I would appreciate it, as well as the rest. Thank you for unmuting me, the organizer.
Okay.
Council President?
Yes, Councilmember Zaluski.
Okay, so I just wanted to finish my thought process on this. Yeah, I mean, it's always funny how it seems like it goes along party lines, but you know, I get the fear of over bonding because I do have like a concern that the city might be over bonded right now, but I'm not a fiscal expert, so I have to defer to you know, to Andy and the mayor on this. And one of the things that I would like from them is kind of like a bonding projection for all of the bonds that we have outstanding and what that debt load looks like year over year, month over month for the city. Because I have no idea. Like you know, I need that broken down. But all that being said, I do put my trust in them because, like I said, I'm not an expert on the numbers, and we pay Andy to do this type of to do these projections, and it seems like this is a smart time to do this when interest rates are at historic lows, and folks are looking for work. You know, the C.D. Perry bid seems to be really good. Like I feel like it's advantageous for the city, and if that's not something that we can hold, if the C.D. Perry won't say, oh yeah, we'll keep that rate for you for another year if you want to get started later, which is, you know, that's not going to happen. I feel like we should get moving on it because, as Andy said, the first payment isn't for another year anyway. So I know we're talking about, well, why don't we delay it 4 months and see where things are? But a year is plenty of padding. If things haven't really gotten better in a year, the city's going to have much, much bigger problems than, whether it can, repay a bond or continue its, continue its staffing. I mean, the things will be falling apart in a bigger way than I fear. So I'm just, at some point, we just have to assume that things will return to some sense of normalcy and that our budget will restore. The mayor has been very careful about, spending and, staffing right now through this. They're looking at this every day, as far as I can tell. So at some point, we just have to put a certain level of trust in them, because, our gut might say, oh, because I get really nervous about all of these bonds outstanding. I really part of me just says, whoa, maybe we should take a step back. But I'm not the one that's looking at the numbers every single day. So I part of this for me is a leap of faith. But that being said, our job is to be able to also look at numbers and make sure that we concur with what the city's doing. So what I'd like to ask is, Andy, Mayor Madden, and Deputy Mayor Kuziewski, if you could put together some information about where the city stands with bonds right now and how that looks going forward for us. I think we're bonded in the tens of millions currently, such that this $2 million bond should not have a huge impact on our overall bonding, but maybe it does. But I just don't know that. I just don't know how it all figures in. So if we could get some additional information on it, I think it'd be useful for all of us to be able to look at that. But for now, since we're just in finance, I will support this moving forward, and then we have 2 weeks to really dig into this and figure out if it's in the best interest of the city.
And Andy did a really thorough breakdown. I believe we had talked about doing another one in the first quarter, and then COVID did hit. But toward the end of last year, the council received a pretty thorough report on the bonding. But you're absolutely correct, Council Member Zalewski. So maybe Andy, in your free time, you could update that report that you had done for us.
I can do that.
Perfect. Thank you. Further discussion, comments. I'm going to do slow roll. Councilmember Ash McPherson, I take it you are not motioning to table at this point?
No.
Okay. Councilmember, further discussion? Okay. Councilmember Gully.
Well, I understand this to be a great project. I still have my reserves, and it's not fear, it's caution. I'm going to vote no.
Councilmember Ash McPherson.
While I also agree this is something that needs to be done, I just feel the timing is off. And Ken, I do appreciate you asking for those numbers, because I'd love to see them as well. So at this time, I'm going to vote no.
Councilmember Steele.
I'm voting yes, and I think we need to jump on the figures that we have in hand.
Councilmember, I almost said Ash McPherson again. Councilmember Cummings.
No.
I think she's muted by the administrator.
Not vote twice. Councilmember Cummings.
This is a project that has been needed for quite some time. I've certainly heard plenty of people who are paying us good money to park there who are concerned about the possibility of concrete falling on them, let alone the possibility of falling through a stair or something like that. So I think this is a critically needed project. It sounds like it's also a project that both makes sense financially now and in terms of infusing infrastructure dollars into our local economy. So that being said, I'm voting yes.
Thank you, Councilmember. Councilmember Zalewski.
I'll vote aye, and I've already pretty much explained it.
Understood. Councilmember McDermott.
I'm voting yes on this.
And Council President Mantello, I just had a couple quick comments. You kind of already heard my concerns. The biggest thing I've heard tonight is that these are, repairs that have been needed for a long time. This structure is in deplorable condition. That's my concern right there. Why was this not mentioned during the 2019 budget when we were looking at the 2020 budget, or in 2019 for the 2020 budget? This was never mentioned during the capital plan. If this project was so necessary, deplorable condition, don't kick the can down the road. It should have been included in the capital plan. Number two, the state comptroller. His words put the fear of God in me. For the state comptroller to say to hold off on long-term bonding, I supported the prior bonds. They're continuing projects. This is a brand new project. We're not even sure overruns could occur, etc. I just, at this point, all I'm asking, a contingency plan for an emergency plan to ensure the safety of the structure. And if the structure is in that deplorable condition, believe me, I have been in the structure, but I'm not an engineer. And saying that, I get it. It does need long-term. What I'm saying is short-term, long-term. We do not know our finances right now. We're very, very vulnerable. We're in a very, very uncertain time. So I am voting no on this bond. The resolution passes 4-3. And since this was on our desk for 7 days, you do only need 4 votes for this resolution. If it was not on our desk for 7 days, you would need a 2/3. Okay? So the resolution carries 4-3. Now we'll head back up to the ordinances. Ordinance 25. Ordinance amending the Capital Projects Fund budget. Council President Mantello, at the request of the administration, do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion.
Motion, Council Member Zalewski. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second, Council Member Cummings. This is the setting up a capital projects account for the South Troy roadway. Discussion? All in favor? Aye.
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 No roll call?
Yeah, we'll do slow roll. I'm so sorry. Councilmember Gully,
Yes.
Councilmember Ash McPherson,
No.
Councilmember Steele,
Aye.
Councilmember Cummings.
Aye.
Councilmember Zalewski,
Aye.
Councilmember McDermott.
Yes.
Council President Mantello, yes. Ordinance, my gosh, ordinance 25 carries 6-1. Ordinance 26, ordinance amending the Capital Projects Fund budget. Do I have a motion?
Make a motion.
Motion, Councilmember Zalewski. Do I have a second? Second, Councilmember Gully. This is the account for the seawall. Discussion? Councilmember Gully,
Yes.
Councilmember Ash McPherson,
No.
Councilmember Steele,
Aye.
Councilmember Cummings.
Aye.
Councilmember Zalewski,
Aye.
Councilmember McDermott.
Yes.
Council President Mantello, yes. 6-1. Ordinance 26 carries. Ordinance 27, Ordinance authorizing the city to create a capital project and amending the capital projects fund budget to allow funding for said capital project. Do I have a motion?
Make a motion.
Motion, Councilmember Zaluski. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second, Councilmember Cummings. Discussion. This is for the State Street Garage. Discussion. Councilmember Gully.
No.
Councilmember Ash McPherson.
No.
Councilmember Steele.
Aye.
Councilmember Cummings.
Aye.
Councilmember Zaluski.
Aye.
Councilmember McDermott.
Yes.
And Council President Mantello votes no. So ordinance 27, 4-3. You need 2/3 for an ordinance. So ordinance 27 does not carry. So saying
Can I
that.
ask why, can I ask why it needs 2/3?
Ordinances require 2/3.
An ordinance?
This had the 7-day period as well.
Hold on one sec. I am almost positive.
Local law.
Yeah, local law. Okay,
Local law does, not an ordinance.
yeah.
Or yeah, I respectfully submitted, I believe,
I
4-3.
I believe.
The local law that needs the supermajority.
Well,
2/3.
I believe also the 7-day on the ordinance also. I'm not sure why, Councilmember Zaluski.
I don't know why you're thinking, you're asking me how you're thinking? I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know what you're thinking.
All right, ordinance
I
27
feel like you're actually, you're next to me right over here.
here.
So if I could just plug into you, maybe I could figure it out.
All right, ordinance 27, 4-3. Now, we're going to move to, bear with me, resolution 39.
Oh,
Resolution authorizing the mayor to submit the City of Troy's 5-year strategic consolidated plan and the 1-year annual action plan to the United States Department of Housing and Urban Development. Do I have a motion?
Motion.
Motion, Councilmember Zaluski. Do I have a second? Second, Councilmember Gully. Discussion? Councilmember Gully.
Yep.
Councilmember Ash McPherson.
Yes.
Councilmember Steele.
Aye.
Councilmember Cummings.
Yes.
Councilmember Zaluski.
Aye.
Councilmember McDermott.
Yes.
Council President Mantello, yes. Resolution 39 carries 7-0. We are now complete with our agenda. Did anyone
Bells have been
have
rung.
any? I'm sorry?
The bells have been rung.
Yeah, I
we
heard.
missed
I
that.
heard. I know. That was kind of a bummer. Andy.
Watch Channel 6 at 11 and 10.
Yay. Were you
And
able to hear it? Were you able to hear it? Anyone?
I went outside and rang my bell because you couldn't see me. I was listening to you, but I rang my bell as well.
Well, you're very fortunate. And my husband did hear it. So he came down and told me. Andy, I do apologize if all don't mind staying on before we adjourn. There was a major concern that people are paying their water bill and their garbage bill, Andy. And because obviously there's a little lag in the checks being cashed or the checks deposited, they're concerned that a late fee will be assessed. And I believe late fees were waived. I know they were for the garbage, but in terms of the water bill, can you just verify what's happening?
So, I mean, in regards to the late fees, we post all payments off of Postmark. So despite the fact that we are behind, we have not even run penalties yet because of the status of the mail. I do apologize for the inconvenience that this is creating for people who have paid. Like I said in the email, it's a balance, right? I would love to be current. We also had to be considerate of the executive orders and, more importantly, the staff's health and safety. We have changed the staffing configuration. Just so the council's aware, this is the third time we've changed the staffing configuration. So I do want to also thank the employees of our office for being patient while we do this. We are changing it so that now it will be weeks on, weeks off, and it will be staffed Monday to Friday, and it will maintain social distancing requirements and their health and safety. So we are working as best and as quickly as we can through it. There are no, we post, I can't say this enough, we post off of Postmark. We do not post off of when we process it. So they will not, if they paid before the due date, they will not be charged a penalty.
Okay.
Council President.
Yes, Councilmember Gully.
Andy, you can answer me this. I've had some people reach out to me because they had to pay online. And in doing that, there were some exorbitant fees for credit card use. And I couldn't recall, I know that we said we were going to waive penalties. Did we also say we were waiving those fees?
No, those are fees that are charged by the merchant, the
third party
hosting company. That's all third party fees.
Yep. Okay. I just want to have clarity before I respond.
They definitely look exorbitant. They are roughly exactly what any credit card processor charges. It's been frustrating to me as well. I make sure they know that they can choose to pay by e-check instead, and that has a much more reasonable fee.
Yes, absolutely. $1.75. I did it today.
$1.75.
And if I can give this suggestion, because I think I gave this at our last council meeting when we were all together, anyone that, and you can tell your constituents, Jim,
Yep.
anyone that has bill pay through their bank, if you go to your online bank and you use bill pay, for example, I have KeyBank, there's no charge at all. So I generate my checks to Troy. I do them from right on my computer.
Nice.
And they get sent to Troy, no fees at all.
All right, I'll make sure I put that out there. Thank you, Ken. And thank you, Nasir. Thanks, Andy.
No, we have not adjourned yet.
I'm saying thanks
Also,
for answering my question.
oh, I'm sorry. Saying that, but Ken, Councilmember Zaluski, I also bill pay through that. Somebody tried that 2 days ago and they were still charged that $1.75 fee. I'm not sure why. And it wasn't, I'm sorry.
They tried through their bank itself, or did they went online?
Right, through their bank, and they
Maybe
were
their
still
bank charges a fee for that.
through the vendor.
Okay. Yeah, I've never been charged a fee. I've been paying my bills through my bank's bill pay for years now, and it's no fees at all.
Yeah. And on the ordinance, it is a 7-day, which would have required the 2/3. So I do apologize. And
Where'd you get that ruling?
I just looked it up in our code.
Okay.
Okay. Mayor, did you have something to add?
Yes, thank you. Just one word. Census, 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 census. Okay? Reach out to your constituents. I've been told if they're not sick of hearing from you, then you haven't reached out enough. Got to get the census numbers up. Push it. Thank you.
Fair
Thanks.
enough.
Thank you.
Fair enough. Yes. It's crucial. Anyone else want to add anything or final suggestions, etc.? Hopefully, we can iron out the kinks for the regular meeting in 2 weeks, because I would love to see all your faces. And, you know, certainly, Mayor, if you could keep us apprised of the budget, I think obviously we're all very concerned, and continue to be vigilant out there. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
Motion.
Motion, Councilmember Zaluski. Do I have a second? I am not taking your number 2, Mr. Gully.
Uh-oh, we can't adjourn.
Uh-oh.
We're stuck here.
Do I have a
Second.
second?
I'll second it then.
Second.
Thank you. Councilmember Steele, since she wasn't able to join us through video. Councilmember Ash McPherson, are you still on with us?
Yes, I'm still here.
Okay, cool. It's so hard. I only see so many faces. Thank you all, and we'll be safe. So we have a motion, we have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? Okay, thank you. Thank you, Mara. Take care, everyone.